Human beings have a special kind of fire inside them. It's a curiosity that just won't quit. We look at the horizon and we don't just see the end of the land. We see a question. What's over there? What lies beyond the mountains we see every day? What secrets are hidden across that vast, endless ocean? This isn't a modern feeling. This is an ancient instinct, a powerful drive that has pushed us forward since the very beginning. It's the engine of all discovery, the voice in our heads that whispers, "Go and see." This spirit of exploration is what built our world. It wasn't about finding new places to build a shopping mall. It was about survival. It was about resources. It was about knowledge. It was about finding new trade partners, new sources of food. It was about understanding the world a little better. Imagine living in a time when the map was mostly blank. Every journey into the unknown was a life-or-death gamble. You weren't just leaving home, you were stepping off the edge of the known universe. These ancient explorers were the original adventurers, the first to truly go where no one had gone before. Consider the courage it took. There were no GPS devices, no satellite phones. Your ship was a fragile wooden vessel, powered only by wind and crew strength. Your map might have been a story told by a sailor, full of rumors about sea monsters and lands of fire. Every storm, every strange coastline, every encounter was a test. These were not simple trips, they were epic expeditions into a world of mystery, and that's what we're diving into today. We're going to pull back the curtain of time and look at some of the most daring journeys of the ancient world. These are tales of incredible bravery, unbelievable hardship, and discoveries that changed civilization forever. So buckle up, we're about to follow in the footsteps of legends. Our first story takes us back to the ancient city of Carthage, around 500 BC. Carthage was a powerhouse in the Mediterranean, a city of traders, sailors, and ambitious leaders. They were masters of the sea. Their ships were the lifeblood of their empire, connecting them to a vast network of commerce and power. But the Mediterranean Sea wasn't big enough for them. They looked west, past the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, and wondered what lay beyond in the great Atlantic Ocean. The man chosen for this monumental task was Hanno, the navigator. We don't know a lot about Hanno himself, but we know he was a high-ranking magistrate. This means he was a leader, a politician, and likely a very experienced commander. The mission given to him was not a small one. He was tasked with leading a massive fleet of 60 ships, packed with thousands of men and women. Their goal was to sail down the western coast of Africa, explore unknown lands, and establish new Carthaginian colonies. This journey was incredibly bold. For the ancient Carthaginians, sailing out of the Mediterranean was like launching a mission into deep space. The Atlantic Ocean was a place of myth and fear. Sailors told stories of thick fog, strange currents, and a scorching sun that could boil the sea. They believed that just past the horizon the world might simply end. To willingly sail into that void with thousands of people depending on you required unimaginable bravery. Hanno was not just an explorer, he was leading his people into a new world. The account of Hanno's journey, called a periplus, was reportedly inscribed on a stone tablet. A Greek version of this text survives, and it's our only real guide to his incredible adventure. Hanno's fleet pushed off from Carthage and sailed west through the familiar Mediterranean. Passing through the Pillars of Hercules was a huge moment. They were leaving the known world behind. They turned south, hugging the coastline of what is now Morocco. Their first task was to establish colonies, creating new homes for the thousands of settlers. As they continued south, the green coasts gave way to the harsh, endless sands of the Sahara Desert. The sun became more intense. The sailors would have been in awe and probably terrified of this new environment. They described passing a great river, likely the Senegal River, filled with crocodiles and hippopotamuses. These were animals they had never seen before in such numbers. To them, it must have felt like landing on an alien planet, a world teeming with strange and powerful creatures. The journey grew more dangerous the farther south they went. The account tells of encounters with different local tribes. Some were friendly and willing to trade, but others were hostile, throwing stones and preventing them from landing. At night, they saw the land filled with fires and heard sounds of flutes, cymbals, and drums. This constant noise and endless fires frightened the crew, who believed they had sailed to a land of spirits. The most famous part comes at journey's end. They reached a bay called the Horn of the South. There, they encountered wild men and women with hairy bodies. Their interpreters called them gorillae. They captured 3 females but had to kill them when they fought back fiercely. bringing the hides back to Carthage as proof. Now let's journey to another ancient superpower, Han Dynasty China around the 2nd century BC. The emperor was Emperor Wu, a powerful and ambitious ruler. To the north and west lay vast dangerous lands controlled by the nomadic Xiongnu. The Xiongnu were fierce warriors who constantly raided Chinese territory, causing chaos and instability. Emperor Wu was desperate to find a solution, a way to defeat this powerful enemy once and for all. His grand plan was to form an alliance. He had heard stories of the Yuezhi, who had been defeated by the Xiongnu and forced to flee west. Emperor Wu reasoned the Yuezhi would be eager for revenge. But there was a huge problem. No one in China knew exactly where the Yuezhi had gone. This is where our hero, Zhang enters the story. He was not a famous general or high-ranking noble, but a mid-level palace official known for his integrity, courage, and resourcefulness. When Emperor Wu asked for a volunteer for this dangerous diplomatic mission, Zhang stepped forward. His mission was simple to state, but nearly impossible. Travel west, cross Xiongnu territory, find the Yuezhi, and propose an alliance. He was given a small delegation of about 100 men and a Xiongnu guide. The danger of this mission cannot be overstated. The journey would take him across brutal deserts, over towering mountain ranges, and through lands controlled by people who would see him as a spy. Zhang expedition began with disaster. Soon after leaving China, he and his entire delegation were captured by the Xiongnu. They were not executed, but instead held as prisoners. The Xiongnu leader tried to win Zhang over. He was given a Xiongnu wife, with whom he had a son. For most people, this would have been the end of the story. They would have accepted their fate, but Zhang was not most people. For 10 long years, Zhang lived as a captive among the Xiongnu, but he never forgot his duty to the emperor. He kept the imperial staff, his symbol of authority as an envoy, with him at all times. He learned the language, customs, and gathered intelligence about their culture and military strength. He was playing the long game, patiently waiting for the right moment. That moment finally came when the watch on him became less strict. He saw his chance, and he took it. With his loyal guide, Zhang escaped his captivity and resumed his journey west. After weeks of difficult travel, he finally reached the lands of the Dayuan in the Fergana Valley of what we now call Uzbekistan. The people there were amazed to see a man from the far-off land of Han China, especially interested in the wealth of his homeland. Eventually finding the new kingdom of the Yuezhi in modern-day Afghanistan and Tajikistan. But his mission hit a major roadblock. He found the Yuezhi, but they were not interested in an alliance. They had found a new, peaceful home and had no desire to seek revenge on the Xiongnu. Zhang primary goal had failed. Disappointed, he began the long journey home. On the way back, he was captured by the Xiongnu again and held for another year before finally escaping during internal chaos. Of the 100 men who left with him, only he and his guide returned, 13 years after they had first set out. Though his military mission failed, Zhang had opened the Silk Road, connecting east and west through trade, ideas, and culture. Our final expedition takes us to the Greek world around 325 BC, the age of Alexander the Great. This was a time of conquest and expanding horizons. But our story is about a man of science from the Greek colony of Massalia, now Marseille in France. His name was Pytheas. He was not a soldier or politician, but an astronomer, geographer, and mathematician. He looked at the stars, he looked at the sea, and wanted to understand them. For the Greeks of the Mediterranean, the world outside their sea was a place of pure myth. They believed the Atlantic was an impassable ocean, a place of monsters and eternal fog. Pytheas was not satisfied with myths. He wanted facts. He wanted to see for himself. So he embarked on one of the most ambitious scientific voyages in ancient history. Pytheas's journey was a private venture, likely funded by merchants from Massalia who wanted to find the source of two valuable materials. Tin, essential for making bronze. It was rumored to come from mysterious tin islands somewhere to the north. And amber, a beautiful fossilized resin, thought to wash up on northern shores. Pytheas's goal was twofold: to explore for science and to map out a trade route for commerce. He was a scientist on a treasure hunt. The risks were astronomical. He would be sailing a simple Greek trading vessel into waters that no Greek had ever charted, facing massive tides and cold, foggy weather. He would be completely alone, without support, in a world his people believed was fundamentally hostile and magical. Pytheas set sail from Massalia, passed through the Pillars of Hercules and headed north along the Atlantic coast. His skills as an astronomer were his greatest tool. He used a gnomon to calculate latitude by measuring the sun's angle. He became the first known Greek to circumnavigate Britain, which he called the Britannic Isles. He provided the first written descriptions of the island and its people, noting they were farmers who used chariots in warfare. His voyage took him even farther north. He sailed for 6 days beyond Britain and reached a land he called Thule. This is one of the biggest mysteries of his journey. Where was Thule? Was it Iceland, the coast of Norway, the Shetland Islands? Pytheas described it as a place where the sun barely set in the summer. He also described something incredible, a strange substance that was not land, sea, or air, but a mixture of all three. He called it the sea lung, a thick, slushy, frozen fog. This may be the first recorded description of sea ice. Pytheas also made crucial scientific observations. He was the first person to correctly connect the ocean's tides to the phases of the moon. Living in the Mediterranean, which has very small tides, this phenomenon would have been shocking and mysterious. But Pytheas didn't just see it as magic. He observed it, measured it, and came up with a scientific explanation. He then sailed to the coasts of the Baltic Sea, where he correctly identified the source of amber. When Pytheas finally returned to Massalia, his stories were so incredible that many people refused to believe him. For centuries after his death, historians called him a liar. The idea of a land of the midnight sun and frozen sea seemed too fantastic, but history has proven him right. His calculations of latitude were accurate, his descriptions of the British Isles were accurate, his observations of the tides and sea ice were accurate. He was a man far ahead of his time, a scientific explorer who sailed into a world of myth and returned with the truth. The stories of Hanno, Zhang, Qian, and Pytheas are more than just exciting adventure tales. They are powerful reminders of a fundamental human truth. We are, and always have been, explorers. These journeys, undertaken thousands of years ago in fragile ships and on foot, laid the groundwork for the world we live in today. Hanno's voyage opened up Africa to Mediterranean trade. Zhang Qian's perseverance didn't forge a military alliance, but it did something far more important. It opened the Silk Road. Goods, ideas, and cultures flowed between East and West. Pytheas's scientific quest, though dismissed in his own time, expanded the geographical and intellectual map of the world. Each of these explorers, in their own way, pushed back the darkness. They stepped off the edge of the known world and found that it did not end. They found new peoples, new lands, new resources, and new ideas. Their courage to face the unknown changed the course of history, connecting disparate parts of the globe. These ancient expeditions teach us about the power of resilience. Think of Zhang Qian, a captive for a decade who never gave up on his mission. They faced storms, hostile encounters, starvation, and the constant fear of being lost forever, yet they pushed on. Their stories are a testament to what humans can achieve when driven by purpose. Today, we stand on the shoulders of these giants. Satellites map the deepest oceans, our telescopes peer into the farthest reaches of the universe. We may think there are no blank spots left on the map, but the spirit of Hanno, Zhang Qian, and Pytheas lives on. It lives in the scientists exploring the Amazon rainforest, the astronauts preparing for Mars, and in every one of us who dares to ask what's next. Their journeys remind us that the world is always bigger than we think, and that the greatest discoveries are still waiting for those who are brave enough to go and see.